Good morning. Welcome to the 2024 Business Town Meeting. Reminding you that the polls will be open until 5 o'clock. Also reminding you that a lot of folks like to hang around after the polls close and kind of watch the ballot clerks count and see what they're doing, which you're welcome to do. But when you do it, don't engage those folks who are counting in conversation. They've got a job to do, and it takes them a long time as it is, and if they get interrupted, it's just going to be that much longer. Just a few announcements. Ronnie Carson is going to make an announcement regarding Harpswell Fire and Rescue.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to town meeting. As John said, I'm Ronnie Carson. I've been a driver with the Harpswell Neck Fire and Rescue for 12 years and as ambulance driver. All three departments are here: Cundies Harbor, Horace Bailey's, and Harpswell Neck. We all would welcome you as volunteers for any variety of tasks. There are forms that you can take and fill out here, or take home and think about it. We really need to keep up a strong fire and rescue. And you'll be voting on many items today that involve expenditure of money on the part of the town. I will tell you the rough calculation of the value of the volunteer time and energy that is devoted by the three departments is very close to $1 million a year. And so we are saving you money in addition to serving the community. Please come and volunteer with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We want to thank the Cundies Harbor Library for providing coffee and muffins right back there. And they deserve your support, so go back and have a muffin and maybe make a donation. Also, I want to remind anybody who's on the ballot, write-in or printed ballot, that you're not allowed to electioneer during the time the polls are open. The American Legion Post 171 is here to present the colors. Gentlemen. Please stand.
Left. Color guard. Vote. Right face. Present arms. Placing of colors. Color guard, right face, right shoulder arms, forward heart.
While we're standing, we'll pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I want to dedicate today's meeting to Harpswell citizens who passed away during 2023 and since the last town meeting, and including, you'll notice in the town report that there's a dedication of the town report to the Tatros. You've each been given a card which allows you to vote. If you don't have a card and you're a resident, you should go over here and pick one up, because otherwise your vote doesn't count. For non-residents, I'm going to entertain a motion to allow any non-resident, non-voter who's an employee of the town, who works for the town, or has been engaged by the town to deal with town issues, that requires to speak to any appropriate article. That requires a 2/3 vote of the body. Is there such a motion? Is there a second? Thank you. All those in favor of allowing these folks to speak, raise your cards. Those opposed? Thank you. If there are other folks who are not voters or non-residents of the town who wish to speak to a particular article, when you get to the mic, you need to identify yourself as such, and we will request the body to give you permission, or not, to speak. Going through the course of the meeting, before I get into it, there are three items in the warrant that are different. The warrant I'm going to read to you is going to be different from the town report. Article 5 refers to the Maine Coast Economic Development District. That's been corrected to Mid-Coast Council of Governments. And by the way, the errata changes were in the posted the legal warrant. Article 37, the recommendations were changed to reflect recommendations by Select Board members Johnson and Covey and recusal by Select Board member Chipman. Article 38, the same thing has occurred. Recommendations were changed to reflect recommendations by Select Board members Johnson and Covey, recusal by Select Board member Chipman. As we go through, I will read each article. I'll ask for a motion and a second. I will ask whether any comments or statements from the Select Board or any or the town administrator, and then I go to the floor and ask any comments, questions from the voters. If you wish to address an article, there are two microphones, one fore and aft in the center aisle. Sometimes they're a little hard to get for extra tall people, and people who are extra short have to kind of fiddle with the mic or maybe ask for some assistance so we can get the thing aimed at your mouth and everybody can hear what you're saying. Identify yourself when you get to a mic. When you speak to an article, try to keep your comments, think about it ahead of time so your comments can be succinct and kind of ask your question, make your statement, and then sit down. I don't want folks to be speaking time and time again without giving other folks the opportunity to approach the mic. So, and if I see up there too often without other people getting a chance, I may ask you to just hang back for a bit. If most of these articles cannot be amended, in fact, only one article in this entire warrant can be amended. For that particular article, if there's an amendment, I'd like you to write it down and bring it up here to the front so that the town clerk will have that amendment, the text of that amendment. If there is an amendment, we will proceed to get that amendment made and seconded. We'll discuss the amendment. We'll vote on the amendment. If the amendment passes, we'll then go to the article as amended and vote on that. If the amendment fails, we just go back to the article as it was originally printed in the warrant and vote on that. I'm just reminded that yes, articles can be reduced, but not increased, with the exception of Article 3, which can go either way. All right. With that, proceed with Article 3. To see what sum the town will vote to raise and appropriate for the elected official salaries and travel reimbursement as set forth in the warrant, for which the tax collector, town clerk are full-time positions, and when the select board fills a vacancy in any elected position, the board is authorized to establish the annual payment at its discretion. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Moderator,
Just a second.
Mr. Moderator,
Just a second. Mr. Well, hold up.
Move to motion that warrant amount of $137,000.
Okay, it's been moved to the amount of $137,182. Is there a second? A second. Any comments from folks? Mr. Weil?
this motion to be made by somebody who wasn't the beneficiary.
Okay, all right, you want to move? We're good. Does anyone object to the fact that the motion was made and seconded by the select board members? Okay, we're good. Anyone wish to address this article? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote on this article. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 3 passes. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $543,515 for general administration. It's set forth in the warrant. Is there a motion? It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments from the select board? Christie? Any questions or comments addressing Article 4 from the voters? Being none, we'll proceed to vote on Article 4. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 4 passes. Article 5, and by the way, this is the first one I read the errata on. The report in the report refers to Mid-Coast Economic Development District when in fact it should be Mid-Coast Council of Governments. Article 5, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $19,332 for memberships as set forth in the warrant. Is there a motion? Is second?
Second.
Then moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Questions or comments addressing this article from the voters? There being none, we'll vote on Article 5. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 5 passes. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $113,846 for the assessing office. Is there a motion? Been moved
Second.
and seconded. Any comments from the select board? Christie? Questions or comments addressing Article 6 from the voters? Being none, we'll vote on Article 6. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 6 passes. Article 7, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $59,588 for the tax collector's office. Is there a motion? Been moved?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 7 from the voters? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote on Article 7. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 7 passes. Article 8. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $65,393 for the town clerk's office. Is there a motion? Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 8 for the voters? We'll proceed to vote on Article 8. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 8 passes. Article 9, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $187,896 for the Code Enforcement Office. Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any comments from the select board? Questions? Comments? Good. Questions or comments from the voters addressing Article 9? We'll proceed to vote on Article 9. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 9 passes. Article 10, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $117,800 for the planning office, including $5,700 for boards and committees. Is there a motion? It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Comments from the select board? Town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 10 from the voters? Proceed to vote on Article 10. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 10 passes. Article 11, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $690,890 for operations and personnel at the recycling center and transfer station. Is there a motion? Been moved. Is there a second? Second. Moved and second. Comments from the select board? Town administrator? Questions or comments from the voters? Being none, we'll proceed to vote on Article 11. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 11 passes. Article 12, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $32,053 for animal control to include $7,648 for Mid-Coast Humane. Is there a motion? Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and second. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? Being none, questions or comments addressing Article 12 for the voters? Yes, ma'am. Please approach the mic.
Gail Prince. My concern is this control officer, is this a control officer that is from Harpswell? And can they be contacted by phone? Or do we have to go through the sheriff's department?
Okay.
How is this?
Well, we'll find out here. Just a second.
Okay.
Who can speak to that? David?
Yeah, that's correct. You call the sheriff's office and they dispatch him, and he is from Harpswell.
Okay, because this is not a, we've tried this and have not had good luck with getting response from a control, the animal officer this way. It took almost 2 days. Yeah, okay, that's all I needed to hear.
All right, but just to let you know, we've got representatives from the sheriff's department over here, and I'm sure you'd be glad to speak here about that, right? Of course you would. Thank you. Anyone else wish to address this?
I'm the town administrator, and I would say we have an animal control officer who lives in the town of Harpswell, is available 24/7. Calls are handled through dispatch so that we have a log of every single complaint that's come in. I would be happy to follow up on that particular situation and find out why it took so long to get a response.
Would anyone else, just keep the kind of back chatter down a little bit. Anyone else care to address Article 12? Being none, we'll proceed to vote on Article 12. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed, Article 12 passes. Article 13, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $132,775 for harbor management to include marine resources administration. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
They moved in second. Comments from the board? Comments from the town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 13 for the voters? None. We'll vote on Article 13. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 13 passes. Article 14, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $88,163 for the Recreation and Community Services Department. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
We move and second. Any comments from the Board of Selectmen? Any comments from the town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 14 from the voters? We'll vote on Article 14. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 14 passes. Article 15, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate. You can't hear me? Can you hear me now? This is like a Verizon ad. Okay. If you can't hear, seriously now, if I'm getting away from the mic, you can't hear me, somebody stand up and say, speak louder. I mean, I want to make sure that everyone knows what I'm doing up here, okay? Article 15, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $7,800 for recreation programs and the sum of $2,000 for maintenance of Trufant Somerton Field, and authorize the select board to appropriate revenue generated by recreation programs for recreational purposes, including for operating expenses and capital improvements of Trufant Somerton Field. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there, yes, from left field, we have a motion and a second. Any comments from the select board? Questions or comments from Town Administrator? None. Questions or comments addressing Article 15 from the voters? Proceed to vote on Article 15. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 15 passes. Article 16, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $559, excuse me. Let's back up there. It's going to be underfunded. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $559,116 for employee benefits. Is there a motion? It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments from the select board? None. Questions or comments from Kristen? None. Questions or comments addressing Article 16 from the voters? We'll proceed to vote on Article 16. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 16 passes. Article 17, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $19,800 for the maintenance and repair of cemeteries and graves. Is there a motion? Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 17 from the voters? Being none, proceed to vote on Article 17. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 17 passes. Article 18, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $164,370 for the maintenance and operations of town facilities, vehicles, and properties, including an easement. Is there a motion? Been moved. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? Being none. Questions or comments addressing Article 18 from the voters? Yes, sir.
Hi, thank you. Jim Lochran from Harpswell, Maine. Generally, I'm a little taken aback by the fact that if you look at last year's appropriation and expenditures, it's so much less than the ask for this year. And I realize prices continue to go up, et cetera, but some of these percentages just seem kind of ridiculous, and it seems that some of these items should be running a surplus based on what's printed here. The place where I don't feel that way is in Article 18 specifically. You're talking about the maintenance and operation of the town dock and the town landings, which is pretty important to a significant percentage of our working waterfront residents here. And you're going to do that, you're going to replace a town dock for $8,000? I just don't know where these numbers come from, and if you're serious about replacing the dock and the landings and getting the storm damage handled, or if you're just running another line item through here. So I would just like some clarification. What are the plans for all the storm damage of the town properties, the docks, and the landings? Thank you.
So there are two issues. One is the money and one is weather. Who wants to deal with the money part?
I can take it.
Okay. Kevin.
The $8,000, this budget was done before. Now, there we go. This budget was done when we had a town pier. And essentially that $8,000 was for another one. Still? Apparently I do. That $8,000 was for an additional float when we still had a town pier. And as far as your question about what we're going to do about the damage, we don't know yet. We're waiting to hear from the insurance company, from the dock, and from FEMA what's coming our way. So, to be honest, we don't know. That answer both your questions or none of them?
I think he's gone, yes. Mr. Smith?
Yes, my name's Joe Smith. I live down in South Harpswell. And I speak for myself, and there are hundreds of people that use the town dock over the summer, or used to use the town dock. So I'm concerned also what's happening in the future. And also if some of the monies that have been allocated could be put toward a temporary solution for this summer, or perhaps forging a way forward over the coming years as to how we might go forward with that. I, for one, and I'm sure there are many in the community, would be willing to assist in trying to get something manageable for this summer, or in assisting in any way possible for building, contributing some, any way in moving the project forward, as it does impact literally hundreds. I understand it's in South Harpswell, and it'd be nice if there were a facility like this on every neck, but it's in South Harpswell. There are many people that depend on it now, and it'd be wonderful if we could do something to move that forward. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can answer that one quickly. The Harbor Waterfront Committee is working on that now. If you look at their schedule, if you show up one of their meetings, that's, our moderator has been there.
He has.
And so we're looking at different solutions to get by the summer. There's a couple ideas on the table, but my suggestion is show up the next Harbor Waterfront Committee, which is next week, I believe.
Thank you. Sir?
Good morning, Michael Dana from Potts Point. I'm going to address the town dock allotment of $8,000. Been overlooking the town dock for 45 years, and it's been a pleasure to see it there. It's kind of too bad to see it gone right now. The town dock has always been a valuable public asset, serving recreational and commercial users. Parking has been a challenge from time to time, but it's always been overcome. There were some improvements made, and parking is quite satisfactory, and nothing disastrous has happened down there. With the $8,000 allotment, I urge the town to allocate this money towards, I echo what Mr. Smith said, but I also would urge the town to allocate the monies to engineering and planning for a new dock, and get that in process as soon as possible. Also urge the town to begin active plans for additional docks in town in other geographic areas of the town. With the longest shoreline in the state of Maine, our residents and the public deserve access to the shoreline that our shoreline can provide. And the main industries in Harpswell, as we all know, are commercial fishing and tourism. And by having adequate docks in various parts of town, this will help sustain the working waterfront and public access. My first question, in which Kevin has answered, is the plans for replacement, so I understand where that stands. Is there a strategic plan for additional docks throughout town to enhance those things that I addressed with access and for recreational and commercial use?
Thank you. Sir?
My name is John Quinn. I live down in Harpswell Neck. I don't vote here in town, so I'd like to speak if I could.
Mr. Quinn would like to speak. He's a non-voter, requires a 2/3 vote. All those willing to let Mr. Quinn speak, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Mr. Quinn, you may speak.
So I won't take much of your time. I'm a newcomer. I've only lived 16 years.
You need to step closer to the mic, please.
I'm fairly new to town. I've only lived next to the dock for 16 years, but watched it day and night. I can tell you that from early in the morning when the guys go out to fish for lobster to all day long when people are getting on and off their boats, many of whom have launched them from the ramp, but the dock affords a place where they can pick up their friends and family. You often see people fishing off the dock and enjoying it. Towards the sunset, you'll see people watching the sun go down. Often you meet people down there who are taking supplies and things out to their houses on the islands. So, as Mike said, we're so fortunate to have such a great coastline. And I would really encourage and hope that we not only reclaim this access to the water, but also expand it to other parts of town and lay claim to our heritage, your heritage more than mine, but I love it here to take use and to take advantage of Casco Bay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else care to address Article 18? Seeing none, proceed to vote on Article 18. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed, Article 18 passes. Article 19, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $29,200 for Mitchell Field. Is there a motion? Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? None. Questions or comments addressing Article 19 from the voters? We'll proceed to vote on Article 19. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 19 passes. Article 20, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $700,890 for snow removal, road maintenance, road street signs, and compensation for the road commissioner. Is there a motion? Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? None. Comments from the town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 20 from the voters? We'll proceed to vote on Article 20. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 20 passes. Article 21, to see if the town will vote to, 1, appropriate $350,000 from unassigned fund balance, and 2, raise and appropriate the sum of $200,000 for the capital improvements to roads, including without limitation, drainage improvements, utility relocations, engineering, survey, and other related costs, all as determined to be appropriate by the select board. Is there a motion? Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? None. Questions or comments addressing Article 21 from the voters? I guess not. Oh, sir, sorry. Please.
Richard Graves, Mainland. I live on the Peabody Road, and I walk it with my grandchildren every morning. On the school weeks, I don't believe the money needs to be spent on that because some of the new residents in the development down there would like the road redone. So I have told the townhouse people, whether it was the codes office and at least one of the selectmen, that I am willing to give up a section of my land so that the town would only have to build about 450 feet to 500 feet of road frontage, then try to rebuild over a mile section and save a lot of money. So I say vote no and let that come up first as to whether or not the town would like to make the decision to relinquish that land back to a property owner, and they have their own right of way to get in and out, whereas none of the other residents on that road with grandchildren would like to see the raceway open back up that some of us used to do many years ago to pass vehicles on 123 that didn't let you go by. But if you could do 70 down there, you could beat them. And that has been done many, many times through the years.
Thank you,
So
Richard.
I say vote no on it.
So just point something out. The reference in the warrant to Peabody Road is advisory. So anybody interested in what they're going to use that money for ought to approach the selectman, the road commissioner, the town administrator, because there's no obligation on the town to use any of those funds for Peabody Road.
It is written right below the article for expressly to be used for the repairs of the Peabody Road. If the writing isn't meaning it, then why is it there?
Okay, thank you. Anyone else care to address this article? Hearing none, proceed to vote on Article 21. All those in favor, please raise your cards. All those opposed? My goodness. Okay. I gotta appoint some tellers here. We gotta do a standing vote.
Is it too late for discussion?
Huh?
Too late for discussion?
Yes. Would one of you volunteer to be a teller on this side? Be counting votes. Okay, you. Brownie, will you be a teller on this side? Good. I need someone in the, excuse me. I need someone to count votes in the back. Bill Muldoon, will you do that? Okay, so what you're going to do is I'm going to ask for an affirmative vote. I want the tellers to count the cards and then report to me the number. Then I'm going to have you stand to do that, and then I'll have you sit down, and then we'll do the no votes. Same routine. I'll have you stand, display your card, we'll count, and then give you the total. So, starting with those in favor of Article 21, please stand and show your cards until I ask you to sit down.
Yes, that one should be taller.
Bill?
42.
42. 26? Yes, including these guys. 29? Thank you. You may be seated. And 29. All right, those opposed, please stand and display your cards. And remain standing till I ask you to be seated. Thank you. Just to make sure you're counted. Did you get this, gentleman? No. 21, okay. Thank you. 17? 31? 34, thank you. Okay. Thank you. Those in favor were 97 votes. Those opposed were 72. Article passes. Article 23, Article 22. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $375,845 for 24/7 Harpswell-based paramedic coverage and related administrative support of services provided by Mid-Coast Hospital or its successor. Is there a motion? Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Comments from town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 22 from the voters? Being none, we'll proceed to vote on Article 22. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 22 passes. Article 23. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $252,539 for the Department of Safety, including municipal firefighters and their associated costs to assist the 3 fire and rescue companies in their delivery of services and for other emergency services and management. Is there a motion? Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Comments from the select board? Quick comments from the town administrator? None. Questions or comments addressing Article 23 from the voters? Hearing none, proceed to vote on Article 23. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 23 passes. Article 24, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $222,000 for the operating and capital expenses of 3 fire and rescue providers as set forth in the warrant. Is there a motion?
So moved.
There is. Second?
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 24 from the voters? Proceed to vote on Article 24. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 24 passes. Article 25. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $150,000 for the purchase of an emergency services vehicle as determined by the select board. Such vehicle to be owned by the town and leased to the local fire departments that have an emergency service agreement with the town on such lease terms and conditions as the select board deems to be in the best interest of the town, with such funds to be held in the emergency vehicles capital account, which is an interest-bearing dedicated reserve account, until vehicle purchase, and to authorize that the proceeds from the sale of emergency services vehicles owned by the town be held in the emergency vehicles capital account. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Been moved. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any comments from the select board? Comments? None? Good, good. Questions or comments addressing Article 25 for the voters? Proceed to vote on Article 25. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 25 passes. Article 26, to see if the town will vote to, 1, appropriate the sum of $175,000 from unassigned fund balance, and 2, raise and appropriate the sum of $150,000 to be combined with $75,000 in reserve to be used to fund the town-wide revaluation expected to begin in 2024 and to be completed in 2026. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Comments from the administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 26 from the voters? Proceed to vote on Article 26. All those in favor? Those opposed? Article 26 passes. Article 27, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 for the Sustainability Plan and Implementation Reserve Account, SPIRA. It will provide local match for grants and fund investments to reduce the town's carbon footprint and to make town infrastructure, including public working waterfront, landings, and roads, climate change ready. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Been moved. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Town administrator? Article 27, questions and comments from the voters. I see we have something. Come on. Yes.
My name is Mose Price. I live on Harpswell Neck. I'm a member of the Resiliency. I'm a member of the Resiliency and Sustainability Committee, and I'm here speaking on behalf of the committee in support of this article. The committee
You need to
unanimously-
get, I know it's uncomfortable, but you're going to have to kind of swallow that mic to get it really close.
Not close enough?
Well, you stay there, fine.
Good, all right, here we go. This article was introduced last year by the committee, or at the committee's request, to fund a reserve fund so that we would have funds available without having to come back to town meeting every year for things like grant matches, emergency situations that come up that are unexpected. So far, we have expended from the fund itself $13,000, I believe is the number, and we have received 2 grants totaling $100,000. There is obviously a surplus in the fund, which this article is designed to increase back to the original $100,000 that was requested. The town has gone through an energy audit and has undertaken some efforts to improve the building envelopes efficiency, as well as get new LED lighting in the town office. The estimated cost for all of this is going to exceed how much was available to the grant, from the grant that the town got to do that. This fund conceivably could make up some of that difference if there's no other money available. And there will be additional grants that come down the road, which we try to follow through the committee and take advantage of when they are introduced. But there is no schedule for when they're going to be presented to us. So this fund allows us to be, as we used the term last year, nimble in responding to things like that that benefit the town, especially some of the vulnerable parts of our town. The grants that we have so far are to help improve the roads that are most vulnerable now to sea level rise and storm surge. So I encourage everybody to vote yes.
Thank you. Yes.
Michael Dana, Potts Point. The sustainability effort in town is great and it's needed. Basin Point Road was repaired or redone last year, I think under the sustainability and climate change initiative. Can the selectmen or the town tell us how that fared in the record levels of tides we had in January? We have another one coming tomorrow. But I'd like to know how that fared. I think I heard that it flooded. Also, and if it did flood, what are we going to do about that? And we have to go back to the drawing board. Secondly, I don't remember what secondly was.
But you handled it very well. Who can respond to his question regarding infrastructure?
I can answer some of that. Welcome to old age, Mike. During that last storm, the water did go over the end of the road. We had talked about it. The Sustainability Committee looked at that and said, well, it's probably going to be a problem. We knew it, but we thought we had some time, 10 or 15 years before we had to deal with it. So we did not raise the road when we repaved it, but we certainly are thinking about it now.
Thank you. Mr. Dana?
Yeah, I did remember secondly. So we have a problem on Route 123 on the causeway to Potts Point. That particular portion of the road hasn't shown up in any of the lists of roads that are being looked at. I know it's a state road. Can somebody answer whether the state is aware of this and the fact that those of us that live on Potts Point, particularly in the last 3 storms, have been stranded out there for hours on end, that sometimes if the power goes off without phone service. So it's becoming a concern down there. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know our road commissioner, Ron Ponziani, if he's here today, could probably speak to that. He is in close communication with the state about the concerns we have with that area. We have not, to my knowledge, received any information about plans. For instance, we know the state is going to be doing a project at the Cribstone Bridge on Bailey Island as a result of the January storms and the damage that was done. But I am not personally aware of what the state's plans are for that causeway at Potts Point. But we're in touch with them and hoping that they'll share that information when they have it.
Would anybody else care to address this article? We'll proceed to vote on Article 27. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 27 passes. Article 28, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $375,000 for the Recycling Center Capital Reserve Account to be expended for Phase 2 of the Recycling Center upgrade with a primary focus on improvements to the building. Is there a motion? Moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 28 from the voters? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote on Article 28. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 28 passes. Article 29. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $7,200 for street lighting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Moved and second. Comments from the select board? Town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 29 from the voters? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote on Article 29. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 29 passes. Article 35, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $82,024 for the purposes set forth in the warrant. Is there a motion? I did? What is it? Oh, Jesus. I guess I did. Whole page. Well, I'm in a hurry. I just, let's go to Article 30. Article 30, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $42,236 for communication services with Cumberland County. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Comments from the select board? Town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 30 from the voters? Proceed to vote on Article 30. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 30 passes. Article 31, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $441,143 for law enforcement services from Cumberland County. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Comments from town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 31 from the voters? Proceed to vote on Article 31. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 31 passes. Just in passing, I can remember town meetings when we would spend an hour on this article. This is nice. It's really good.
That's because Kevin just got here. He's outside the door.
That's all right, we're done. No, moving along. Article 32, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $254,154 for Maine wardens and shellfish conservation, shellfish conservation related services from Cumberland County. Let me do that again. Article 32, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $254,154 for marine wardens and shellfish conservation related services from Cumberland County. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Comments from the select board? Town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 32 from the voters? We'll proceed to vote on Article 32. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 32 passes. Article 33, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $16,500, of which $6,500 is for boat operations and maintenance of the Marine Patrol boat, and $10,000 is for marine resources and shellfish conservation activities and projects. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Comments from the select board? Town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 33 from the voters? Proceed to vote on Article 33. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 33 passes. Article 34, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $46,746 for general assistance and health and welfare agencies as set forth in the warrant. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? None? Town Administrator, none. Questions or comments addressing Article 34 from the voters? Yes,
Brian Hurst, Harpswell Neck.
can you get really up tight to that mic? Get real close.
Okay, Brian Hurst, Harpswell Neck. I just wanted, a question is, who determines these amounts?
Who determines the amounts?
So the process is that the town sends a request for information to the organizations that we have previously funded. And they fill out this form, which indicates what their budgets are, where they receive other sources of income, how many folks in Harpswell they assist with their particular service. Those are reviewed by the Budget Advisory Committee in Harpswell. If they feel there's a need to follow up with any one agency, then that agency is invited in to answer specific questions.
Okay.
So that's really how that process unfolds.
And do these amounts pretty much mirror what they request?
For the most part, yes. I would say many communities have stopped funding organizations like this through direct tax appropriation. So Harpswell is still one of those communities that our voters have supported these kinds of contributions. So all of these organizations are very pleased that Harpswell continues to provide some public funding to their organizations. And so for the most part, I think they receive what they request.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else care to address Article 34? We'll vote on Article 34. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 34 passes. Article 35. I feel like I've been here before. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $82,024 for the purposes set forth in the warrant. Is there a motion? Then moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Then moved and second. Comments from the select board? Town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 35 for the voters? Now we'll proceed to vote on Article 35. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 35 passes. Article 36. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $159,089 for Curtis Memorial Library in Brunswick. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Move, is there a second?
Second.
Move and second. Comments from the select board? Town administrator? Questions or comments for Article 36 from the voters? Yes, sir.
Brian Hurst, Harpswell Neck. I'm not opposed to this. I really like Curtis Library. I go there frequently. However, it's a lot of money, and I wonder if next year our two libraries could maybe request some amount of money that they could use to provide more services, and then have this be part of our warrant. My bet is that a lot of the people in Harpswell who use Curtis Library could afford to pay a yearly fee for that use if Curtis so decides. Which I and my wife would be happy to pay. I hope maybe that can be done next year and that the two libraries can present some additional requests to the town. So, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else care to address this article? Yes, ma'am.
Margaret Rohol from Oars Island. And my question is about the amount that we give to Curtis Library. I realize that the folks on Harpswell Neck live a long way from the Cundy's Harbor or the Oars Island Library, but we're giving the Brunswick Town Library $100,000 more than we give our local libraries. We're giving them more than $100,000 more than we're giving any other health and welfare agency. We're giving them more than we're giving to any one of the fire departments, which I think we could argue we're perhaps providing a greater service to the town. So I would want to say, let's give them $30,000 like we give everyone, all of our other libraries, and maybe save the rest to build our own library on Harpswell Neck. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Aaron Fuchs from Cundy's Harbor. We go through this every year. Can you explain the method in which we're paying them? There was a 3%, as I understood it, there was a 3% increase. It was built into the contract, and that's been rising. And then we're done with the contract in a year or two, in which case we could renegotiate, or am I incorrect?
Selectman Kobe.
Thank you all for your.
All right. Okay, can you hear me? Thank you all for your questions and your comments. We are in the third year of our 3-year agreement with Curtis Library. The amount in this warrant is exactly the same as it was in year 1. We negotiated a flat rate for 3 years. We will be renegotiating next year, and we'll come back to the town meeting with the results of that negotiation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else care to address this article? Yes, sir.
John Wright on the mainland. I serve on the board of directors at Curtis Library, and I would just like to suggest that Curtis Library offers a great deal of community to not only Brunswick, but also Harpswell, with services that go way beyond what our local libraries can offer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to that, it is not the Brunswick Library. It is a totally independent, it is the Brunswick and Harpswell Library, if you want to look at it that way. We pay part of the operating cost. And we've had schemes in the past where people have suggested, why don't we just buy library cards for everyone? And that would underfund the library, which is, our library. And yes, we have the Oars and Cundy's Harbor, but they're not full libraries. And they always welcome the Curtis because of blending portions of what they do and able to help the small libraries do a lot of things. So, I would recommend that we continue our relationship with Curtis Library, totally independent from Brunswick.
Thank you. Anyone else care to address? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Abigail Svensson from mainland, I guess. I am a teacher here at Harpswell Community School, also a Harpswell resident, and I use Curtis Memorial Library constantly to get books into the classroom. So it's used by the teachers here as well. I'm a Harpswell resident, and I have that option because we are members there. So just keep that in mind as well.
Thank you. Would anyone else care to address this article? Mrs. Standridge?
I'm Ann Standridge. I live on the Neck. I'm a former board member of the Curtis Memorial Library. And I'd just like to say, remind you, that Curtis also provides services to the Oars and the Cundy's Harbor libraries that they would not have available to them otherwise. So in a sense, Curtis serves all of Harpswell.
Thank you. Would anyone else care to address this article? Yes, ma'am.
Gail Prince. My concern is, Gail Prince. I heard that there was a bookmobile that comes around in the summer. Is that the only time it comes, is in the summer?
The question is, does it come all year round or just in the summer?
Yes, all year round.
All year round? Okay, then I was misled. I still think that that's a lot of money for a library that everybody can go and get a card for. It's just unacceptable that that's an added tax for people that are already being taxed to death by not only the locally, by state, by federal. You know, we've got to start drawing the line somewhere. And when you continually add this stuff and then keep adding and adding and adding, if you want to go to the library, go to the library. But let's build our local libraries. You know, I would love to take my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren to these little local libraries, but they don't have anything for them. You know, we've got to build our locals. You know, that library in Brunswick has been going, I remember going to it when I was a small child. It will keep going. It doesn't depend just on Harpswell. You know, and that's just the way it is. It doesn't depend, and if it depends on just Harpswell, then, and there is no parking there. I don't care what anybody says, there is no parking in that library. You can go there anytime you want and you will not get a parking spot. So, you know, there's a lot of things about that library that are not conducive for going there.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Sharon Emig. I live on the mainland, and I respect the previous speaker's points. My experience is actually just the opposite. I support my local libraries, both of them in town, and will continue to, but I find the hours and services and convenience and parking at Curtis invaluable to me. And I think it is true that Curtis will probably still go on, but the availability of its services at no charge, additional charge to Harpswell residents, I think would be very much missed if we declined to support it. And I said, I wish that I could support or patronize our local libraries more, but it is just a fact because of staffing and their budgets that they just do not have the hours and services that are convenient to me when I can go. So I would very much support our continued involvement and funding of Curtis. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Aaron Fuchs, Gundy's Harbor, I've been here before. I have been against this year after year. However, the library provides a lot more services than we think about just getting out books. Okay, they have a repair cafe, which I participated in, where they fix things for old folks who bring them lamps and it don't work. And the other thing is, we look around here, we all are the folks who could probably afford a library card, but there's another part of Harpswell that can't, and also you have all of the school children that get to use that library. And that's what's really important. What I strongly suggest is that the selectmen, when the contract comes up, that they look to not just repeat it, but look for other alternatives or drive a really hard bargain.
Yes, sir.
Brian Hurst. Yeah, I noticed when I read quickly about Cundy's and libraries, Cundy said it was only open 20 hours a week, and if it had more money, my bet would be that it would be open longer. And my bet would be if it had more money, it could provide,
get closer to the mic, please.
Could provide more services. Again, I'm not speaking against Curtis in any way. I enjoy it greatly. I just think it might raise the money it needed from other towns in another way, not through tax money, because people who don't use that library for whatever reason are still paying taxes to support it. For me, it's easy to get in my car and go in town. You know, I'm retired. I don't live too far away from it. But you know, a family maybe with small kids that's working, that would be more difficult for them. And if the our local libraries were open more, you know, they might drive for 20 minutes or 15 minutes and then spend a half hour, 45 minutes in those libraries rather than driving for over half an hour to spend the time in Brunswick. So that's it.
Thank you. Would anybody else care to address this article? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Melody Moore, Orr's Island. I think I sort of agree with the two people before me and have mixed feelings on how much money we give to Curtis. I have two little kids. We frequent both Curtis and the Orr's Island Library a lot. To respond to what somebody earlier said, you know, the Orr's Island Library has tried to have a lot of kids programs and not a lot of kids show up. They were doing story time on Tuesday mornings, and there were several weeks that, you know, me and my kids were the only ones there, which was fine for us. You know, and we do frequent Curtis for the things that they offer too. I agree that, you know, if we were to maybe give our little libraries more money, you know, they would have more to offer, especially if we offered more digital services with our local libraries. And I think, you know, this is probably going to pass right now. So I would encourage, you know, everybody here who has feelings on this to both use Curtis for the next year, use everything they have to offer that we're paying for, use the Repair Cafe, use the Lending Library, use passes to whatever events that they offer. If you look into it, they do offer a lot. And then maybe over the next year too, some of us can work on offering more programs and services with the local library, because if we build them up and more people use them, and then they're able to have more hours, and we'll be able to do more with them, I guess. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else care to address this article? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Jay McCrite from Great Island, and I'm in support of this warrant article. One thing that hasn't been mentioned is access to cloud library, because we're members of Curtis. And if you read books electronically or listen to audiobooks, you don't have to go anywhere. You can sign on and they come to your tablet, your phone. I use it constantly, and it's an incredibly valuable service. I also am a huge fan of our local libraries. I think we need them all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else care to address this article? Being none, we'll proceed to vote on Article 36. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 36 passes. Article 37, reminding you that in the town report, it indicated that the select board recommended it. The errata is that it was recommended by select persons Johnson and Covey and recused by Mr. Chipman. Article 37, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $87,580 for Harpswell Community Broadcasting Corporation. Is there a motion? And you're recusing? Okay. Move. Second? Second. Move and second. Okay. Questions or comments addressing Article 37 from the voters? Yes, sir. You did.
I'm Dan McMahon. I live in Basin Point. And I actually used to do volunteer work with David and Donna at the television station years ago, where I would host the television forums for the election of candidates. And on the forums, it was instructed to me that it was not to be political at all. Could not have any kind of political verbiage, could not have any kind of a debate, and it had to be totally nonpartisan. Otherwise, it could be a funding issue and a licensing issue for the station, because it's a 501c3. So when Jerry gave his announcement for running for select, afterwards, David invited him to a forum debate. And those are the exact words, forum debate. How can he say that? It's a debate. You can't say that. So then I got up and I addressed David and I said, I just appreciate your time, friend and neighbor for many years, and I'd be happy to volunteer for the forum. Well, when I sat down, I got a message from Donna, who saw the thing happen live, telling me that I would not be invited because I'm obviously biased for Jerry. Well, I never mentioned Jerry, but regardless, it is to be a non-political, non-biased, non-endorsing event. So I looked it up. And I gave you some packets. There was some information there from the IRS. So the IRS is the one who actually oversees, of course, the 501c3s.
Stop you right there. What he gave me are 2 IRS publications, one of which is titled Frequently Asked Questions About the Ban on Political Campaign Intervention by 501c3 Organizations, Overview.
And there are actually 3 there, 3 publications.
Oh, 3 of them. Okay, they're all the same, right?
So, of course, the first one talks about, is requirement imposed by Congress for the privilege of being recognized as exempt from federal income tax under a 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code. For an organization to be tax exempt under a 501c3, it cannot participate in or intervene in, including the publishing or distribution of statements, any political campaign on behalf of or in opposition to any candidate for office. Not allowed to campaign. Period. Both sides. And then on the second page, it elaborates even more and talks about violating this prohibition may result in the denial or revocation of the tax-exempt status and the imposition of certain excise taxes. Then it goes on the third page, talks about website. Whereas a website is a form of communication, if an organization posts something on this website that favors or opposes a candidate for public office, it is prohibited political campaign activity.
And can you jump ahead?
Absolutely.
Please.
Now, the next page just talks about, it's from a law firm, but it talks a little bit about, using of the equipment. Not even allowed to use the equipment from the station for any production. So the rest are basically all screenshots and examples. Of course, the debate did become a debate where they were rebutting one another and they were addressing one another. It was not an open forum. A forum is supposed to be, who are you and what do you do and what's your interest in our town happenings, period. And you can see on the first screenshot that provided to you was from Watch Harpswell TV, where when I sat down, Donna referred to it as a debate.
I need you to get to the point.
We're going to the point here.
Yeah,
And then there was a post.
Well, just so you're clear. Point of order. These folks can cut you off if they want to. I'm not urging them to do that, so I'm urging you to get to the point.
Okay, you can go through the rest of the examples on your own. My point is, should the town be solely funding a 501c3 that is breaking the IRS rules and regulation? It's a station that can be shut down, they can lose their license, they can be fined. And where the town is concerned, since we are the primary supporters, we're the primary funders of that station, do we have an implied liability? Is it something that the town should know about? They're breaking the law.
Well,
the licenses
the town attorney is not here today. So my suggestion to you is that you come to a selectmen's meeting, write up a statement of how you think this should be remedied. You've already provided the town with what you're concerned about as far as the exposure that a 501c3 has to, if in fact it has not adhered to the rules. And that is yet to be determined. So I suggest you follow up on this, but do it with the selectmen at a selectmen's meeting, and then they can talk to the town attorney and they can work it out.
Very good.
Thank you. Mr. Weil?
Mr. Moderator, Gordon Weil, West Harpswell. 2 comments. One, I'd like to know why Mr. Chipman does not support this article. And secondly, I believe the previous speaker misunderstands the law. If the board of the television station voted to take a political position, it would run afoul of the provisions he's talking about. But as a broadcast medium, if it carries the views of others as a way of informing the public so that there is a debate, literally, that there is a discussion between opposing views that is broadcast using the facilities of the television station, that does not run against the provisions. It runs against the station taking a position itself and endorsing a candidate or assisting a candidate in an election. And I think that we need to have some clarity on this. We need to have public discussion in this country more than ever, where all sides get to participate. And to the degree that Harpswell Community Television helps do that for this town, That's very helpful and does not violate any law in my view. I will stress, I'm not a lawyer. This is not a legal opinion, but it is mine.
We won't hold you to it. One of the questions was, why did Mr. Chipman recuse himself? Would you explain, please?
Well, so I'm not opposed. I'm absolutely not opposed to this, but I'm recused because I'm the president of the Harpswell Community Broadcasting Corporation, and the other two have seen that it seems to be a conflict. So
thank you.
I've agreed not to participate.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Now make it brief, please.
I'm going to make it brief.
Good.
If the town decides to do due diligence and look into it themselves, they'll see on the IRS code, it doesn't matter what the opinion of the station is. What it matters is in the advertising. And by posting opinions is advertising, and advertising for political purposes
Well,
is
okay,
prohibited
that's
in
your
501c3.
That's your opinion, and my suggestion.
not my
I'm
opinion,
I'm
it's
going
law.
to stick with my earlier comment. That's your opinion, which is fine, and you're entitled to it. So go to the selectmen and at a meeting, and they can refer this if they care to the town attorney. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Dan Holbeck, retired tax attorney. The suggestions that were just made do not hold water. If the station were to take a political position, endorse a political candidate, that would be one thing. But opening up forums and giving an opportunity to inform the community is not a violation of the 501c3 regulations. In fact, it is encouraged.
Thank you. All right. Okay, we've probably ventilated this, apparently not. Yes, ma'am.
Allison Hobbs, Cundy's Harbor, and since he is here and we can get maybe...
Allison, you need to really approach the mic,
That's not
please.
usually a problem, John. Since he is here and we can get an opinion, I am curious because my page was actually campaigned on by Harpswell TV. I don't think everybody understands exactly maybe what Dan is trying to get to. Maybe if the board takes a position, I understand that, but can Harpswell TV campaign on Facebook page, on their page for the candidate who's on their board? Is that against the law?
I don't think we don't have a lawyer here, and a retired tax lawyer is not going to.
I move to cease debate.
Okay, we've got a motion to call the question. All those in favor? We'll proceed to vote on this article. All those in favor, please vote. Please raise your cards for Article 37. Those opposed? Article 37 passes. Article 38. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $12,000 for Harpswell Neck Physical Education Association to upgrade tennis courts at Harpswell Center, with such funds to be released upon Harpswell Neck Physical Education demonstrating that it has raised the remaining funds needed for support. I point out that there's errata here. Again, the town report indicated that it was supported by recommended by the select board. In fact, it was recommended by select board members Johnson and Kobe and recused by Mr. Chipman for the same reason he expressed with respect to the station. Is there a motion? It's moved. Is second? Second. Moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? Questions or comments from the voters addressing Article 38? Hearing none, we'll vote on Article 38. All those in favor, please raise your card. Those opposed? Article 38 passes. We've got a pool here going, and what time this is going to be finished. Article 39. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 for the Town of Harpswell Property Tax Assistance Program with the unexpended funds to be held in reserve. Is there a motion? Been moved. Is there a second? Second. Moved and second. Comments from the select board? Town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 39 from the voters? None. We'll proceed to vote on Article 39. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 39 passes. Article 40. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $180,000 for the capital expenditures of $100,000 for town office improvements, $75,000 for vehicles, and $5,000 for boat and motor replacement. Is there a motion? Moved. Is there a second? Moved and second. Comments from the select board? Town administrator? None. Questions or comments addressing Article 40 from the voters? Proceed to vote on Article 40. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 40 passes. Article 41, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $570,000 for short and long-term principal and interest payments. Is there a motion? Been moved. Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 41 from the voters? Being none, we'll vote Article 41. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 41 passes. Article 42, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $75,000 from the Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Funds, also known as the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA funds, received by the town from the federal government for emergency communications equipment and related consulting. Is there a motion? Been moved. Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. Comments from the select board, town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 42 from the voters? Hearing none, we'll vote on Article 42. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 42 passes. Article 43, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $50,000 for coronavirus local fiscal recovery funds, also known as the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA funds, received by the town from the federal government as a contribution to Tedford Housing's construction of a regional shelter in Brunswick. Is there a motion? Been moved. Is there a second? Second. Any comments from the select board? Town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 43 from the voters? None. We'll proceed to vote on Article 43. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 43 passes. Article 44, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $20,000 from the Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Funds, also known as the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA funds, received by the town from the federal government for Harpswell Heating Assistance Program. Is there a motion? Been moved. Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Town administrator? Comments addressing 44 for the voters? Seeing none. Proceed to vote on Article 44. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Article 44 passes. So, Articles 45 through 52, we got a couple of options there. Option 1 is we vote on them individually. I read each article, we vote on them individually. Option 2 is we take them all as a group and you vote on them all, either up or down, on those articles as a group. By the way, these are all administrative articles that appear on the warrant every year. And then option 3 is I don't read any of them, but you agree that we can take it as a single vote on all of them. So, all those in favor of option 3, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Okay. Now, I'm going to ask for a vote now on the articles 45 through 52. All those in favor of those administrative articles 45 through 52, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Articles 45 through 52 pass. So we're not done yet. No, we're not done. We're not done. So I have to ask the town administrator or the treasurer whether we are clear of LD1 restrictions. Okay, so there are certain rules about what happens at town meeting if the funds raised and appropriated exceed a certain amount. We have not exceeded that, and so the voters, I'm going to ask you to pass over or request a motion to pass.
Mr. Moderator.
Yes.
It's my honor, as I do every year since we've had LD1, to make the motion to pass over this article. It's a tribute to the existence of the town meeting that we do not exceed, we have never exceeded the LD1 ceiling, kept our spending under the state guidance without having to have a special vote to exceed it. The town should be congratulated, the selectmen should be congratulated, and therefore I make this motion to pass over this article.
Okay. Is there a second? Been seconded. All those in favor of passing over Article 54, please raise your cards. All those opposed? Now, I did it again. I skipped over Article 53. So, you guys didn't, you gotta be sharper than that. You gotta catch when this stuff happens. Article 53, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to appropriate amounts not to exceed $300,000 from municipal revenue sharing, $2,431,800 from non-property tax revenue sources, $600,000 of unassigned fund balance, and the homestead exemption and BETE reimbursement estimated to be $174,396 to reduce the tax commitment. Is there a motion? Then move there a second. Second. Move in second. Comments from the select board? Town administrator? Any questions or comments addressing Article 53 from the voters? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 53, please raise your cards. Those opposed, Article 53 passes. Now, before we create a vacuum as you all leave here, just reminding you of a couple things. One is the polls remain open till 5 o'clock. You're welcome to stay after that, or before that for that matter, and watch what's going on, but we don't want you interfering with the vote count. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting Cindy Day. All those in favor? All those opposed? This business meeting is adjourned.